All right, take two. rTMS appointment happened on uh 2 days ago, and I was pretty pissed off about it because of the questionnaire. Asked me like, what health issues do you have, and then so I put everything on there, and then uh, they kind of said some of it might be part of their exclusion criteria. So I was kind of mad about it because I was thinking like, well, why didn't I just lie? you know, like this is kind of the reason why you don't want to tell these medical professionals, so-called professionals, like everything, because they will use it against you. And they don't necessarily do it in your best interest. They do it because they're scared, and they do it for liability reasons, and they do it because they're looking out for themselves first, and they just don't even like, can't even like really truly help you. Like because I read the research myself on rTMS, repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, where they basically take a thing and put it next to your head and like put magnet waves into your brain. And it can be used for some of the stuff that I'm suffering from, aside from depression and anxiety. And then, I don't know, I'm also kind of mad because that doctor or psychiatrist who, like, I don't know if she diagnosed me with that other condition, like schizoaffective. I don't even know if it was really true. Like, I don't know. And then also she said like at one point that it was just like psychotic depression, but I had taken like all those magic mushrooms, so I feel like that really probably put me into like a psychotic episode or something, or like tipped me over the edge. But yeah, I don't know, to be honest. But I like, they always kept asking me like about hallucinations and hearing voices. I never had those things. I do have like songs that get stuck in my head, and I do have like random words and phrases that come to me, but it doesn't sound like an external voice talking to me. It's just like ideas that randomly come in, and that's why I told that rTMS psychiatrist. I was like, I don't know. It does feel like I have a thought disorder, but it also could feel. It kind of feels like it could be ADHD too, and I have the diagnosis for ADHD. Like, because I have trouble like sticking on a topic and doing things from start to finish with some stuff, with a lot of stuff. But that's also like kind of like a depression symptom too. So there's just this like huge confusion, and it's like, so, and I know personally that a lot of these, like, I know for a fact that a lot of these psychiatrists or whatever, they can pathologize stuff that's like not even there. And this woman, she seemed like she was the type to do that, because she was a real digger, and she would like pause and wait and wait and wait after you were finished to see if you're gonna like say something else. And it's like, that's kind of weird in a way. Like, she's kind of baiting more and more to like, get you to quote unquote tell on yourself, or like, not tell on yourself, but confabulate, or like, I was telling her like I've really bad anxiety. And like I was fidgeting, and she's like, you're fidgeting a lot. I'm like, I have terrible anxiety, like. And I was like, I didn't get mad at her, but I was like, yeah, I've told my story to like 20 different doctors. And it's, I'm like, I'm kind of sick of it. And she's asking stupid questions too, and I kind of gave her like, you know truthful answers, like, yeah, I have a lot of social anxiety. Like, my anxiety comes from people a lot of the time, and or like, you know talking to people. And she's like asking about like paranoia, and I was like, well, and she's like, do you trust people? I was like, no, not that much. And she's like, when did that happen? I was like, well, it comes from childhood. Most of that stuff comes from childhood, when you don't trust people on like a deep level. And I said, it's attachment based too. And she's like, attachment to what? I was like, attachment theory. And so I was actually like, that's why I kind of get annoyed with these psychiatrists. Like they play like a dumb defensive type of interrogation where it's just like, I know what the fuck you're working with. I've seen the literature. I've studied this stuff. Obviously, nobody knows everything, the full scope of psychiatry, but a lot of it's baloney, and a lot of it is crazy too. Like the people who study it are kind of crazy, and the people who are all involved in it are like, they're all kind of crazy, and I'm serious about that. And I watched like a video too from like a psychiatrist convention from 2006 where they interviewed like psychiatrists outside of it, and they were like laughing because the question was, how many patients have you cured? And they're laughing because they're like, none. And this one guy was like, maybe one. And it's just like, and the other guy was like, he's laughing. He's like, well, there's not really any cures in psychiatry. And it's true. It's just like, almost like this big lie in psychiatry and psychology too, that there is fixes. There is, there are like, there's like a distinct problem, and then there's a distinct treatment, and then there's a distinct solution, and there's like a before and a after, and they're very similar. And you went through some sort of like thing when you went to the psychiatrist, and then you're kind of back, or even maybe you're doing way better. That's not really true at all. Like, that's really not that true at all. And a lot of people get mad at that, but because there's like all this like craziness involved, and like there's so much like gaslighting, and like a lot of the people involved are crazy too. And so there's just a lot of weird mind games, and it's like, yeah, that's not actually that true. And I'm sure some people do get help from some stuff, but a lot of people suffer. And I've talked to a lot of people who suffer online, and I've got my own experience, and like a lot of people just suffer, like, and that's part of the real pain for me, is because like I'm always waiting. It always feels like I'm waiting, and I'm always just like kind of like banking for the time when I'm kind of back to normal, and life feels pretty good, and then I can start making progress again, and I can start being happy, and I can work on things, and I can build my career, and I can build my life, and I can build my family, and I can build all this, and I can do this, and I can do that. And that is just kind of like not even that true, and that's kind of the lie. In a way, it's a lie that's kind of been it's made its way through society for a long time. And I do think that's partly what makes people like feel really awful too, because of all these promises and then therefore expectations, right? Now, I do want to be careful with saying that. Like, I'm not total black pill, like everything is terrible, but I do feel like there's not really been that much of a healthy balance, because there's not been much truth about it, Not many people really speak the truth on stuff like this. And I can kind of see why, they have a vested interest, most of them, in some sort of lie, or they have like some sort of like scaredness to them. But it really feels awful. Like, all the lying really feels awful. And the truth feels a lot better. So that's why I'm just like, let me just say the truth, right? A lot of people don't get that much better. Maybe there's some amelioration, some lessening, but yeah, even then, I don't know. Like, that's a very deep philosophical discussion, and it's a very important one. But yeah, Yeah, it's a tough one, you know. They do these like psychiatrists and stuff, you know, they do work in this way, and the whole field of psychology does work in this way where they kind of, you know, they cherry pick things to try and steer entire discussions and actually steer entire um, societies in a way, but um, yeah, uh, you know, by making you think about like, oh well, we're just doing the best we can, you know, and they use this language like coping, and they use like all this stuff, and like I've investigated this stuff really thoroughly, and a lot of it kind of is gross to me, but some of it's true, and the stuff that's true is like the stuff about the nervous system, um, and the stuff about the window of tolerance is true, but the way that therapists use the window of tolerance is oftentimes they don't use it correctly, and a lot of stuff is fluff as well. Like now there's this thing about the faux window of tolerance. It's like I got mad at my counselor because, well, I didn't get mad at him, but I said like, you know, this is stupid. Like it's that's within the model already. Why are they, you know, fluffing it up with this extra stuff? I don't know if you can hear that screaming, but I live in a bad area, so there's all these like crazy people around. But anyways, so um I think like one of the important things I've seen is that P factor exists. You know, your general, however many traumas or adverse childhood events you've had in your life, however much predisposition genetically you have, whether your parents had mental illness or psychiatric conditions or whatever. And then I think there might be some other factors, but those are the big ones. And those are indicative of your P factor, or like how likely you are to struggle with your own mental illnesses or disorders, and just generally struggle in life. Could also be through your physical conditions too, things like obesity and diabetes, other medical conditions. And so that's true that if you have a high P factor, um, you know, you're more likely to struggle. And then the other thing is that if your ACEs, your adverse childhood events, were sexual abuse in nature, then you are very much less likely to recover from that. Well, I do have ACEs that are sexual abuse in nature, and they're very confusing to me because I kind of feel like super ashamed, like they're self-inflicted almost. Um, but that could be part of like the whole guilt thing, that where people think that it's their fault or something about what went happened to them or what went wrong with them. And so I kind of do think that maybe that's part of it as well. Um, but yeah, anyway. And then another thing I just want to say is that the identity piece is really important. And I don't know how I'm ever going to make any traction on this area, but this is a start by talking about it. That it's really important to have identity. Um, and I've really struggled with identity a lot, you know? And uh, it you know, it leaves me in a place of like shame and avoidance, but um, I don't really know how to like properly address this one, you know? The identity one. Um, and then the other one is the attachment issues, but they're all tied together, but the attachment part is really hard as well, because attachment is sort of like how comfortable you feel with other people. Um, so if you have the anxious attachment style, you want other people to be closer than than you feel that they are, whether that's on like a physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental level. You feel like they're not close enough, they're not really getting you, they're not talking to you enough, they're not responding quick enough, they're not, you have sort of a feeling like they're not there. So this is like anxiety, like they're not there enough, right? And so I have this, but then I also have, there's another one called avoidant. And so avoidant is that you feel that people get too close to you, and that you have a trouble with them, knowing you or seeing you in a vulnerable position or state, or and I'm talking about people that should be close to you, or should normally be able to see you in kind of like a vulnerable state where you cry or where you express your true ideas or something. So avoidant would be someone who doesn't do that. So they don't fully express themselves. They don't ever fully get too close. They look away. They may walk to the other side of the room if someone comes within their quote unquote space. They may, be holding back tears a lot, or trying to pretend that things are okay, that, and I'm like that, because they avoid being seen. And so when you put those two together, you can actually have the anxious and avoidant, so combined to anxious avoidant. And that's sort of like a pull, which is the anxious, and a push, which is the avoidant. So it's a pull-push or a push-pull type of attachment style. And it's really uncomfortable. It's never satisfying. It really hurts. And I live with this. It really hurts. It's never satisfying. It's like a constant fear. It's like it feels like a cycle, like each new person you meet it's like, could be the one, and then it's like, oh no, it didn't work again. And so it just kind of is this cycle, attachment issues wise, and really relational wise, and then life wise. And it's really, really painful. Like, I can't overstate that, how much that is. And it's actually kind of on a nervous system level. Actually, that's 100% true. What it is, like, it's like a feeling of not being relaxed in your body, and it's like it's not really in your control. You may feel kind of like you can affect it over time, and I think that is true that you can, but it really does feel like it's out of your control. And I've had so much issue with this, and I've had so little success with getting treatment or help for this. And it's just brutal. It's brutal. And when I talk about the window of tolerance thing and how therapists aren't really using that correctly, my experience has been that when I go to do a therapy, and I've tried many, the therapists, I generally notice that they have a lot of issues themselves, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, oh brother, but I press on because I really want to get help, right? Because it's just unbearable, and I do want to be healthy. But when I go to, I'm just waiting for them to help me along with the breakdown, the break open, the tears, I don't want to say screaming, but the pain, the wailing, like whatever it is that, if you think about a baby who's going through a really tough time, pain or whatever, they just express it, right? So I'm waiting for them to help me into that state, and sometimes they will. And to get into that state, it's where I have to activate this kind of previous pain. And some of it's like in my subconscious, some of it's in there, but a lot of it is kind of like in my conscious consciousness too, that I'm aware kind of it, but some of it isn't. It's in my subconsciousness too. So I'm trying to like get into that place where it's necessarily outside of my window of tolerance. The window of tolerance is like, it's supposed to be this thing where you're in a kind of a relaxed, calm, parasympathetic state. Outside of your window of tolerance is when you're in your sympathetic nervous system, which is like your fight, your flight, your freeze, your fawn. That's what they mean when they say window of tolerance. So like everybody kind of assumes that the daily life is supposed to be within your window of tolerance, right? And you can get knocked out of that, but you can come back. Well, for me, I'm never really in my window of tolerance, Maybe I'm within this like faux window of tolerance that this guy was talking about, but I'm just generally outside my window of tolerance, and my nervous system, and I'm always hoping and waiting for these therapies to help me to get knocked out further or experience that I'm outside of it, or let this expression through, let these emotions come in, hit me, and I'm just hoping for this. And these people, they make it so hard, and it makes me so angry, because I think to myself, like, you went to school for this, you went through at least 4 years, most of them, of university. Some of them have gone through way more. You should know that this is coming. This is what the whole literature is about. This is like, expression. It's about all that. That's what the literature should be about. But a lot of it is like, it's so warped and stupid, and it's like, it's so bullshit and baloney, a lot of it, and like, it's really hard to find anyone who can, like, I guess you could say, handle it. But that's what I've been looking for, right? And a lot of them, they just can't handle it. Like, they're not ready. Some of them, it seems like they might be a little bit ready for it, but they get caught up in their feelings too. They're not able to, like, help me, to just, like, express these tears, this whatever it is, and then work through, a little bit of the memories or the family trauma or whatever, or just to feel, safe that I can do that. And then, to properly come back down, because it is like, it's basically like waves, where there's a big one, and then there's, little ones, and then you kind of come back a bit more to reality, or not reality, but a calmness. And then later on you might get hit with more waves. And it's like, a lot of them are just really bad at that. Like, I'm talking about therapists, like, they, they're like fumbling around, with their tools. They get really scared when they really want to hit something, because they want to feel like they're doing a good therapeutic job. And then they get really scared when they do hit on something, and then they like way overshoot in the opposite direction, and they never want to, like, trigger anything again. And it's like, I'm just kind of annoyed by it. I'm sick of it. I'm like, can we just, please, like, not be stupid? Like, this is what we're here for, like, yeah. And actually the worst is when they try and argue with me. Because, like, I will fucking beat them down, because I've studied this stuff so much. Like, I know this stuff. Like, I'm not a dumbass. Like, I'm just suffering like crazy, and I'm trying to get someone to help me. Like, like, and it's a different part of the brain too. It's like, I'm trying to access, more like the brain stem. I'm not trying to access, like, the prefrontal cortex or something, like, as much. I'm trying to, like, let my brain stem process the pain or whatever that it's, like, got. And then also the body too, it's got a lot of pain too. So Anyway, that's my big rant about therapy. Um, yeah, so I hope I can get some more help soon. I still have this one therapist guy. He's scared, but he seems to be, getting more confident a little bit. And I was telling him, like, can we please just do the somatic work that I signed up for? He's like, oh, we haven't been doing somatic work. It's like, okay, yeah, I know there's a range of it, but when I signed up, I didn't mean like, you know, you're never gonna use touch. I'm like he's just talking like, okay, how does your body feel now? It's like, okay, how does your body feel now? It's like asking every few minutes. Like, I don't really sense my body that much. I know I'm feeling pain and all that, but um, anyway, so I'm hoping for there to be able to do some more somatic work, something like that. But anyways, we'll see. And then yeah. So anyways, I will hear back about my rTMS appointment. Hopefully soonish. I mean, it could take a while. She's got to contact my old doctor, and that old doctor was terrible, really slow. But we'll see if I can get the treatment for rTMS. I hope it goes through. I hope it can help me. I also want to buy a cold tub and a cold tub chiller. I have the tub, but I want to buy the chiller to keep the water cold consistently. And the chiller's expensive. It's around $500. I've seen some are more expensive. I'm not sure which one to get. They come in different horsepower, like 1/10 of a horsepower, a third of a horsepower, half a horsepower. I feel like I'm gonna need one that's like good enough, like powerful enough that it could actually work, right, and get the water cold enough. I do like the water to be really cold, so that it actually has like a shock effect. And then I also want to get a red light therapy bar, like a panel where it could cast red light at my eyes, and I would use it, I think, in the mornings or something. I'm not actually sure when you're supposed to use it, but there's benefits for red light therapy. I would like to get something going like that. And this is all just stuff to do with routine. And I have been working out a lot daily. It's like one of the only things I kind of like to do, and I'm working on that habit of keeping it where I just go and I work out, and I'm liking the results. I see that I'm getting more muscle. I'm only about like 2 months in, month and a half, back to the gym, but I'm getting good muscle already, and I think like, well, I'll look much more muscular in like 6 months and in a year, and in a few years. Like, imagine I'd have a lot of muscle, and I'd be happy with that. I like to be in shape, and I like fitness. It's always been a great thing. It's always been good to do. I enjoy it. So that's been going well. And then the other thing is dating. So I've been dating, but and I've been talking to different women from dating apps and from like online apps, and I mean, this is like a big lifelong issue with me. And it's related to like attachment, and my attachment issues act up so much, but it's also related to my like lust addiction, or like sex addiction, or um, just general like uh, loneliness too, and yeah, issues with that. And so, but it's also like a healthy thing to do too, so I don't want to make it all sound bad, right? um, so what's been going on is I have been talking to like different girls from dating apps, and I went on a date with one, and I like her quite a bit, and I'm trying to like, I don't know, like, just sort of in a way see how things go a little bit. We've been on like 2 dates. This sounds embarrassing, but we had sex on the first date, which is, not a good thing. And I went to confession for that, and told the priest and confessed my sins. And he said, like, I really have to put on the boxing gloves and fight this, the devil back, like the demons, or the evil that's attacking me. And I agree, like, I really do fight back, like, a lot of the time, but sometimes I do give in, and that feels awful. Like, I feel terrible every time I do that, like every time I give in. But anyways, I'm still talking to this girl, and I like her, and she's nice, and uh, so we will see. I was thinking about asking her to be my girlfriend, but then I'm like, oh, it's too soon. I've only dated her twice, or been on 2 dates. But honestly, we will just see, like, what happens. And yeah, yeah. So, and then another thing, like, dating wise for me is, uh, I think that they need to have, a partner for me needs to have, like, some sort of faith in God. And I'm not really sure if this girl does. She kind of said that she used to, but that she doesn't now. So maybe I just wasn't really comprehending, but I'm pretty sure she said that. But yeah, so we'll see. And I feel like, also I feel like afraid, maybe this is just like, me being a big scaredy cat, but I feel kind of afraid to ask these deeper questions sometimes, because a lot of times I've noticed in the past, you ask anybody anything of substance, they get really angry, they get really scared, they get really defensive, they just, like, will stop talking to you, like. But I kind of want to ask her, like, would you ever consider, uh, you know, coming to church, or hearing about the gospel, or something like this, or, like, coming back to church, or, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, people are so hard to talk to about stuff like this. You know what I mean? Like, the culture is so shifted to this defensive atheists, frankly, kind of pagan, worshiping money, worshiping hedonistic, worshiping good times type of thing. And it's like, and also it's really stupid, and everyone's sarcastic about everything, which I'm talking about in Canada, but it's more widespread than that. But Canada is really bad. But yeah. So, and especially among women too. So I don't know when I'm gonna bring up those questions, but we'll see. And then also I want children as well, so we'll see with that too, whether maybe we can figure that out as well. But yeah, so that's the dating thing. But then I've also been talking to other women too, not just one. So not all my eggs are in one basket, really. They would be, once I find out, if once I ask if any one of them would be my girlfriend, right? Until then, I'm not really sure. Like, I can't really gauge, like, whether someone's just gonna drop me again, or yeah. I've been, that was terrible. I was dating one girl before, and she I think I can't remember if I asked her to be my girlfriend, and then she told me, or something like this. But she was, like, sleeping with other dudes. So, and then, yeah, that was horrible. And like, I didn't know, and we had been, I guess, dating or something. But anyways, yeah. So that was horrible. That was a bad experience. But yeah. Anyways, and then, so we will see. We'll see. But talking to a few girls right now. Um, just trying to trying to slowly navigate all these different fronts. I mean, life is complicated. Life is complicated. You've got all these different topics. And you have all these choices too about what you do with your time, what you say in a conversation, what you choose to pursue or not pursue. And there's all these ideas and things just kind of crashing up against each other all the time, and over time you kind of learn lessons, and the easy way or the hard way, and then there's all this comparison going on, and then there's so much dishonesty too, and so few real conversations. But yeah, and there's so many know-it-alls too, and so many judgmental people. But yeah, it's tough, you know. Life is something. Okay, but oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk about was Nick Fuentes. Again, because I really like Nick. He's just got an honest and likableness about him. He keeps gaining traction now. And the latest thing is there's this sort of coordinated matrix attack on him. And yeah, the matrix is coming for him hard. And if you don't know what I mean by the matrix is sort of the narrative, I would say, more generally, is a good way to put the matrix. But it sort of lives within a lot of different people, and then it becomes activated if you say something that is against the narrative. So when I say the narrative, I mean like the dominant narrative. And so the most dominant narrative is don't criticize Jews, don't criticize Israel. And so that's like the most dominant narrative. And so he has been actively criticizing Jews and Israel for a long time, and then 10 years or something, and he's been censored for most of that time. But recently the censorship is letting up, and his traction is growing a lot. And now I'm sure a lot of people probably haven't heard of him or anything like this, but he basically tells the truth, and he does it in a really good, like really charismatic, funny, concise, intelligent way, and I would say irrefutable too in a lot of ways too. Like, but he ties so many different things together, and then so because of this, he's gaining a lot of a following, and this is making him now a target. And so Candace Owens has attacked him. Tucker Carlson has attacked him. And Elon Musk has attacked him too recently. And they're trying to attack him in like a specific way where they're trying to cast doubt onto his character. And all this stuff is really fascinating to me, but he's basically blowing them out of the water with it, because they're trying to say that he's like a federal agent, and he's basically just smoking them, like annihilating, destroying, whatever. But he's smoking them because he's bringing up all this evidence about their connections and like who they are, and like they're not like honest people. They've got huge connections to Jewish influence, and he's just like Jewish money and CIA connections and federal connections themselves, and they're calling him a federal agent. And so it's kind of funny. And the thing is, like, the Jewish people are the ones, like the Judaism and the these elite people, they all have like a Jewish allegiance, or like some type of like, I don't know if deal is the right word, but some sort of like reason that they are in support of Jews or Israel, and he's not. And it's just so funny to me, because he is right. If you actually watch, his show and see the evidence and see what's going on, and he's like gaining influence now, and they're attacking him really heavily. So it's interesting to watch, and it's interesting to see. And I'm really I'm really like proud of him, and I'm inspired by him for doing this, and I just feel like he's like one of the only people that has any kind of balls. He says he's a real nigga. He's like, are there any real niggas left? In his latest shows, he's been going like really explosive, but I mean, he deserves to. He's been saying like, are there any real niggas left? And not really. Not really. He's like, are there any real niggas left that aren't, doing advertisements for gold or for pills, or like aren't bought out by Israel or Jewish influence, Jewish people? It's like, no, there aren't. And then you have like this huge freaking massive like brainwashed goyim, or like stupid people that it's like you always have to talk to them, and like they're always like stupid as hell because they're brainwashed, and it's like it's really, I don't know, demoralizing somehow, but to see him kind of break through it is really nice. It's really nice to see. And I don't know what the full extent of it will be, but it's just truth and information, and each person kind of has to make up their own mind and evaluate it for themselves and see what happens, And I don't really think a lot of people do that very well. I think a lot of people don't really have the ability to, maybe, or something like this, but at least someone is saying all this stuff, I'm sure other people have been saying it before, but there's been people like Pat Buchanan, and I know I've heard of other names, but they all get taken down and attacked. But like, yeah, there's like kind of like a playbook for this type of stuff from the dominant power structure, which they use to try and take stuff down. But he is gaining following. We'll see what happens to him. I pray for him. I believe, he's on the side of good versus the side of evil, because he's a Catholic. He always proclaims Jesus Christ. And yeah, it's just that's starting to break through again. Like that's really starting to break through into life, and it took someone, or it takes people who have like the courage to say something, because not a lot of people do, really. Not a lot of people do. Not a lot of people do. So anyways, that's all for this vlog.